Way to go.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any, Terry, could you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Frost.
Here.
No.
Here.
Ben Yosef.
Here.
Chow.
Here.
Gorson. Absent. Moons. Here. Tyre.
Here.
Well, we're 6 tonight.
Okay, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Dear Board, thank you for the beautiful flower arrangement in memory of my dad. I am so grateful for the support and understanding that you've provided. Wishing all of you the very best. Thank you again, our own Sean. Thank you.
We're sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And that is all of our correspondence.
Thank you. And now, Cash,
Awesome.
welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much,
We're
everyone.
super happy to have you.
Super excited as well. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for the warm welcome. So, I'll go ahead and get started by introducing myself and who I am. So, I'm Kash. I'm a senior here at Stevenson now, which is crazy. So, I want to just kind of talk a little bit more about like who I am, things that I enjoy doing. So, over here is a picture of my family. My grandparents visited from India this summer, so I had a really good time with them, and so probably one of the highlights. Over here is some of my friends. Some of the clubs I do at Stevenson are Kiva and Catalyst, and I also lead, over here is a logo for an organization that I lead called Encode Justice, which is an international nonprofit working on like tech policy stuff, regulating AI, like ethics, accountability, all that sort of stuff. And then over here is a picture of me from June when I was in DC wearing a shirt, "Democracy is a verb." I'm a huge like community organizer, activist, advocacy person. I serve on like the Vernon Township 708 mental health board that was recently passed through a referendum initiative last November. And so that's kind of like, it's a pretty similar setup to this where, you know, there's like a secretary and all this. So anyways, a lot of exciting stuff, and I love DC. It's like my favorite place to visit. Every time I go, it's like, it feels like the same energy. And I'm especially excited for like all the exciting like politics that's coming and the election cycle that's coming up right now. So that's just a little bit more about me. But I'm super excited to be here today, and thank you all so much for this opportunity. So, one thing that I've heard a lot of positive reception that Alex did an incredible job last year, and so I don't want to change too much, so I'm going to keep the same structure that Alex presented her student body reports in that it's going to be 4 pillars: community, academics, athletics, and arts, because after all, that is what Stevenson's built off of, so there's not much to change in that sense. There are like some things that I'm hoping to slowly ease my way into these like new changes. And so one thing this year that I'm adding is something that actually like Dr. Gergen asked me about when I was interviewing for this position. He was like, okay, like there are a lot of clubs at Stevenson that there's like 200 clubs, and there's a lot of clubs that oftentimes don't get the same like recognition, or a lot of people don't know about what those clubs are doing. And so each month I'm hoping to kind of present, and I've reached out to a couple of clubs before this meeting, smaller clubs at Stevenson, to kind of hear what they're doing and kind of spotlight some of their work as well, because oftentimes that goes unnoticed. And then also, this is my first time at the job, and so like if you guys have any feedback for me in and after every single meeting, that would be awesome. But yeah, I can go ahead and get started with just like some of the stuff from the summer and what's been happening. So over here are 2 pictures. Stevenson's HOSA team actually traveled to internationals in Dallas, Texas this summer, and we actually had like, I think like 13 teams place in the top 10 of their events. So nothing unusual. Stevenson HOSA continues to kill it. And then over here we have pictures of Stevenson's team in Louisville, Kentucky, which recently participated in like this like national competition where there was like 143 teams. And so they did competitions in like science, mathematics, engineering, arts, and technology. And so over here we have a team that actually won 2nd place. And so obviously there's some travel and some victories that our co-curricular activities have had over the summer. We continue to have just a few more victories. So over here, our future community I always forget the name. Okay, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America Club at Stevenson traveled down to Denver for an international conference where we had teams compete and actually place at the top level. And then it was just like a nice opportunity for them to kind of attend workshops and kind of spread the spirit of like community service and giving back to their community through education. And then over here we have Colin Fan, who recently graduated Stevenson, who actually attended the it was like an International Physics Olympiad in Japan, and actually placed well at that as well. So once again, just more academic teams that are placing well.
Go physics.
Go physics. I love physics. Okay, this is also some very, very cool stuff that is, I think we're starting to see a little bit more of. So we have two groups that kind of traveled this summer. One was this international service trip that was sponsored by actually my former physics teacher, Miss One, in Cuba and Dominican Republic, and so they participated in local activities. They obviously they toured around, and I think that I've spoken to some of my friends that actually went on this trip, and they said they had a really good time. It was a really enriching experience to learn from these communities. And then also we obviously had our Stevenson's group go to this leadership conference in Berlin over the summer. So there was 19 students, and they visited different countries throughout Europe, and it was part of a larger global leadership summit that was centered in Berlin. And so once again, some of my friends told me this was an awesome experience for them and really eye-opening opportunity to focus on specifically the issue of climate change, where they kind of developed proposals and solutions and worked with activists and other youth leaders that are kind of stationed across the globe really at this conference. So really, really good opportunity that Stevenson's providing for all these students to really, explore their interests, whether it be in the Caribbean or in Europe. So here are some other pictures from over the summer, the PWC orientation. So since last year, interest in the PWC has expanded exponentially. And so for the incoming class of 2027, the PWC leaders actually organized an orientation and kind of walked through different equipment that's available for them, the different activities, and also taught them kind of how exactly they can maximize their experience at the PWC. And so over here we have pictured two of the trainers, and then this is actually pretty surprising. I didn't expect that there was going to be this many freshmen that had shown interest, but there was a good amount of freshmen that came out over the summer and worked with the wellness coaches to kind of learn more about the PWC equipment and all that it offers. And then, as always, a very, very successful FMP training day. So I myself am an FMP, a first-year FMP, and I honestly found it super, super fun. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through one of my favorite activities that we did that day. So over here, we kind of had 3 rectangles, and so there's obviously a ton of mentors. And one of the games that we played were essentially, we had our eyes blindfolded, and there were people on the outside, and there were balloons in the middle that we had to essentially keep up. And so there were people on the outside kind of telling us where we needed to go to lift up the balloons to make sure they didn't touch the ground. And there were 3 of these rectangles. Whichever rectangle could keep the balloons up for the longest won, essentially. But I think the more important or more significant part of this activity, which we like to do in FMP, is debriefing the activity. What is the larger meaning or purpose of the activity? And I think that for that was definitely the fact that obviously in advisories, freshmen there's going to be different challenges, different obstacles, and different hardships that each freshman are going to be enduring. And the job or the role of an FMP is really to kind of guide and support them and kind of lift them up wherever needed. And so that was a pretty cool activity that I think had pretty large meaning. And so I really enjoyed that, and we've been having a really, really good time in FMP this year so far. And so this was freshman orientation day, a very, very successful day, and I think that something especially to touch on is that a lot of schools have this orientation day for freshmen. But what makes Stevenson, I think, really, really unique is not only the very large and bolstered FMP program that we offer, but more importantly that we have this kind of balance between, okay, let's get into a smaller advisory setting, let's meet your faculty advisor, let's meet your co-FMPs, and kind of develop these personal relationships with them. But then you kind of go into this larger assembly, pep assembly, where we had Mr. Gobble and other guest speakers come in and speak. I think that was really valuable, and I think that's something that I also love is the different themes and the identifiers that each co-FMP. So this is actually my co-FMP RO, and our theme was obviously FMP pool party, and so we had these leis, Hawaiian shirts, and it was just a truly awesome experience. And I've genuinely loved so much meeting my freshmen. I was honestly excited for that all summer. So probably one of the highlights of my summer too is technically it wasn't necessarily summer, but orientation, it was really, really fun.
Gosh rode the bus in with my daughter.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
he,
did.
as a freshman, she gets to ride the bus. So he brought her.
And then the freshman mixer. So this was last Friday, so I had to like kind of scramble in to find some pictures to put in here. But also an awesome experience. This is me over here with my friends. It was super great, and I think that I loved seeing my freshmen there too. And a lot of like, and it was also an interesting experience because there was like a quiet area inside like the pool patio area where they were playing bingo. But then there was also this like larger area for like the more extroverted students to kind of enjoy. So I liked seeing that kind of balance between like inside and outdoors and the different types of personalities that freshmen have coming in. And something that we always do is obviously the spirit tunnel. So there were like a bunch of FMPs lined up and freshmen ran through there. But then we also had a different entrance for the freshmen who maybe weren't as comfortable going through the spirit tunnel. So I just love how, as always, FMP is kind of accommodating to those different needs and interests. And so really great experience.
860 freshmen came.
I think this was like probably the record.
It was 860.
That's
Freshman class is 1,100
How many?
kids. 860
It's amazing.
Out of 11.
out of 1,100.
Something.
Yeah.
And just some quick, I'm gonna go through this, I feel like I'm taking too long. So some things that are coming up. We have Street Fest and Wellness Week coming up. These are just some things that they're doing over Wellness Week. So we have like a field day that culminates, but then we also have like button giveaways, sleep quotes, pretty similar things to last year. Key Club Service Fair is also coming up. So I'm the president of Kiva this year, and so we are organizing a booth at Key Club Service Fair, which essentially offers freshmen and underclassmen an opportunity to kind of engage with the different service opportunities and volunteer opportunities that the Stevenson community has to offer. And so they're also inviting like community organizations that are not necessarily based in Stevenson to also attend. And then homecoming planning, I think I just saw today that the theme was space party.
That's what I believe they chose.
Yeah, space party. So I think planning is already starting because it's actually in like I think about like a month, right? Like 5 weeks or something. So they're planning for the assembly, for fall sports to kind of walk outside and then kind of mapping out the different decor and how different hallways are going to be decorated this year. So that kind of wraps up the community section. Academics, pretty usual things and awesome stuff, but we have like nearly 750 freshmen come to summer school this year, and clubs like HOSA, FBLA, Kiva, Key Club, all the big, large organizations and clubs are starting up this week. And then the CCC over the last 2 weeks has also been hosting sessions to kind of help and guide seniors like me in this process of college applications. And so definitely a very nerve-wracking experience, but I'm personally very thankful for the CCC and the counselors and all the SST that's available at Stevenson for kind of guiding us through this process. And so in terms of athletics, one of the best things that has happened over the last few weeks is the creation of a new sport at Stevenson. It's a girls flag football. So my friends and I have been doing boys flag football for the last 1 or 2 years. But this year, very new, something that hasn't ever happened before is the girls flag football team. So my co-FMP Ava is also on the girls flag football team, and she was very, very excited for this. And that was honestly she was so excited for this. So I think it's great that they now have the opportunity to play, and there was a lot of excitement for this, and a lot of people are actually going out to watch these games as well. So it's really great stuff.
I think they went 2-2 this weekend.
Yeah.
They won 2 and lost 2, right?
And then just some other athletic wins. We had our 3D archery club, Scholastic 3D archery club that placed really well. And then different fundraising events that were kind of organized by different clubs. I believe it was. Oh yeah, we had like our foundation golf that actually raised nearly like $100,000. That was like kind of had Stevenson Foundation's presence there. So that was some good stuff as well. And then in general, school's in full swing. So we've had like all of our fall sports that have conducted tryouts. Teams are beginning to practice. I know like some of my friends are waking up at like 5 a.m. for like Monday morning soccer practices. So it is there, it's happening. And then our first football game is next Friday, August 25th. Wait, this Friday? That's this Friday. Yeah, this Friday, August 25th. And they're actually celebrating Night of Champions, which recognizes state champs from last year. So they'll be kind of having that celebratory kind of feel for those former state champs. And then new sport alert, girls flag football, and then new club alert, pickleball club. I am a huge fan of pickleball. I play like throughout the summer, so if anyone else plays pickleball, that's awesome because wonderful sport. So they actually had that club this year, which is also some pretty exciting stuff. And then Stevenson, so in terms of the arts, we actually had a summer theater class take a trip down to the city to actually watch the play called, it was like Hadestown. I've never heard of it, but we had a couple students go down there to watch that, and then our band team had a fundraiser, and then over the summer we had 2 sessions of the like art and digital design, photography, and art classes that actually had like showcases in semester 1 and semester 2 over the summer. So these are just some pictures of summer school students kind of visiting and exploring the art booths that were available. And then also some very cool stuff. Stevenson and Taylor Swift, so the Stevenson band Color Guard, I think I actually heard them like practicing outside just now, are practicing their routines for the 2023-2024 season, including parts of their Taylor Swift inspired halftime show. So it's something that I don't think has been done by a Stevenson Color Guard band before. So that's
at the end of the season, they're gonna re-record it and re-release it as a second album. Swifty.
I see what you did there.
Swifty trivia, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
And then the PTC, the Pizza Theater Company, is having auditions in August for their fall productions, so Legally Blonde, The Bully Plays, and Spark. And then A&N and Anchor selections happen soon as well. So this is what I was kind of talking about, like this new kind of addition that I think would have been helpful. So these are obviously pretty lengthy descriptions and explanations, but essentially one of the coolest things in Stevenson's Other Fashion Club is one of their goals is to pair up with more clubs to broaden perspectives, and so their discussion with the Black Student Union to learn more about the impact of Black designs, models, and photographers in fashion, as well as scheduling some guest speakers from like the Black community to kind of spotlight and feature some of the different designs and kind of fashion that that community has to offer. And then secondly, our Sports Analytics Club, they're planning to mainly focus on the end of the Major League Baseball season, the beginning of the NBA season, and almost the entirety of the NFL and college football season. And then something unique that they like to do is usually contain a statistic of the week, so they're relating to a sport of their choice, along with activities and bi-weekly sports updates. And so these are just examples of how two clubs that maybe we don't always talk about the most are doing some pretty impactful and great work. And then one more thing that I want to mention is our Model United Nations team is actually organizing for SMUNC, the annual Stevenson Conference, which kind of convenes nearly like 30 schools and delegations to come compete in one of our schools. So pretty exciting stuff from our clubs. And then lastly, as Alex liked to do, the different student spotlights, and so I kind of went around the ILC in different areas in the Wood Commons to kind of hear and write down what different grades liked. And so this one is actually a freshman who said they loved the Jasmine's Everything Bagel. I also love the Jasmine's Everything Bagel. So, that's awesome. And then
Pasta week.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, this was just, and then this girl from sophomore year mentioned how she got to be a big shot because she was no longer the youngest fish in the pond. And so that was something interesting as well from her sophomores. And then our junior said that she said that she was taking 5 AP classes, so she was shocked that she still got to play get to know you games in every class, which we played a pretty good amount in our classes. And then lastly, the person I asked from senior year said that they were super, super, super excited for this year and the exciting events that they got to experience. And then they said that the most exciting thing wasn't about them, but about the wonderful freshmen that they got to interact with and hear about their first day instead of their last first day. And so that's just some experiences from our seniors. So that pretty much wraps up my first report, which is crazy. But any questions or anything feedback-wise that you guys think that I can include next time?
Well, I love the addition of the clubs that we don't hear about. That's great.
Thank
Love
you.
that. All good.
Great job.
And do not
Thank you.
feel like you're not speaking too long.
Okay.
No,
It's
never.
fantastic.
Okay. Thank
You
you.
are,
This is
just so
the
you
best
know,
part of the meeting.
by
Okay.
far. That's what I was gonna say.
Always, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take a.
Thank you so
take
much.
two.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next
Like,
month.
Nice job, that was perfect.
Thank you.
Did you drop your key?
keys.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I get more cars that way.
Do we have any visitors? No.
structure? Okay, so tonight, well, first of all, welcome back to everybody to the 23-24 school year. Thank you all for being here. It's exciting to get things underway. And we appreciate all the time and commitment that you give to Stevenson. Tonight, we have 3 first readings, and so we'll give you an opportunity to review these before September when you'll ask for your approval. The first is a first reading of our GPIs that we discussed at the retreat. And between now and September, Mark will be working with the administrative team to develop action steps. So we will present those to you next month with all of the detailed action steps for each of the goals, projects, and initiatives. So thank you, Mark, for leading that work out. We appreciate that. The other first reading is for curriculum course proposals. Just by way of quick review, the curriculum course proposals are proposals that you have seen previously in April and May through the letters of intent. So when we approve the letters of intent, what we're saying to our teams is you have the green light over the summer to develop curriculum proposals. And if you as a board approve those in September, those will go into the course book that kids will choose from for classes for the 24-25 school year. So it's a process, and we give you multiple touch points to be able to review and ask questions and kind of discuss the different recommendations that we're making. And in this particular series of proposals, Mark, there's really no change from the letters of intent in the spring. So almost a direct carryover. So more to come on that. Feel free to give myself and Mark a call between now and September. And then also you'll see a series of first readings on board policy updates. And thank you to Pia for getting us all organized. You can pull up the worksheet. You'll see that this month, virtually all of the policies from press are 5-year updates. So there's really not a whole lot that we're gonna ask you to debate and discuss. And then I know we've also been considering an update to policy 2:230, which is related to visitor statements. So you'll see a red line version of that, which we will bring back to you for your approval in September.
And thank you, Steve, Steve spent a lot of time speaking to our attorneys and really going through that in detail, and then Don also looked at it, so thank you both for your work on that.
And I think we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but part of the rationale was to really try to ensure that the visitor statements that are being made here to the school board are germane to the issues of the school, right? Like, let's try to stay on topic, on focus.
Eric, one other thing that we're updating is the non-discrimination coordinator, compliant manager, and Title IX coordinator too.
Yep.
Eric, can I ask you to take a moment on the GPIs?
Mm-hmm.
In the past, sometimes the board was more about, at the retreat, we would spend a little bit more time on the GPIs.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year, we had a lot of other stuff to talk about, and you were gonna meet with the admin team, and you prepared this and you shared it with us. It occurred to me, I don't remember exactly how we come up with the goals, the difference between the goals, projects, and initiatives, and there's some newer board members that it might be helpful, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So, that's a good question. So what's the difference between goals, projects, and initiatives? So the goals are what we would describe as SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable results, or time bound, et cetera. And these goals really have not changed in, how long have we been superintendent? 17 years. Because our feeling is that we still haven't hit these goals. There's still a long way to go. One is tied to our state test, one is tied to our commitment to college level experiences, and the other is tied to social emotional learning. And we feel like those are really the 3 kind of big buckets that we need to be paying attention to as far as goals are concerned. And also there's a measurability aspect to those, right? There's other initiatives that we have that may not be as measurable as these particular goals. Keep in mind, we've wordsmithed these over the years, right? Like they've gone through a wordsmithing process, but the buckets are the same. State test, college level experience, SEM. The initiatives are essentially the ways that we commit to working in order to achieve our goals. So we have a focus on collaboration, and we ask ourselves to follow the most current research in our profession on how to engage in really good collaboration and what protocols are for getting ourselves as adults to working together on behalf of kids. The second initiative is around evidence-based practices, so ensuring that, you know, we're actually using the evidence of student learning to make decisions about curriculum instruction assessment, grading practices. And the third is around student engagement. Like, we're gonna do everything we can to create, you know, highly engaged classrooms for our kids. So our feeling is that those are the three areas that we spend a lot of time on in our divisions in supporting teachers and staff in meeting the needs of kids. And then the projects are what we would consider to be our 1-year to-do list items. So the initiatives, you know, are kind of our ongoing ways that we work. We tweak those every once in a while, but those are really related to our culture of being a learning community. The projects change every single year. And when you see next month the action steps, the way that Mark works with the administrative team is that the projects are intended to be completed within the school year. So by the end of the year, our commitment is to have implemented the RISE program and to develop practices related to the new digital SAT. So the projects are always time-bound in 1 year, and they're always only 1 or 2, 3 at the most. And the intention is that if it's a project, then it's going to touch nearly everybody within the organization. Are there other things we're gonna do this year? Well, of course, there's other things we're gonna do, but, you know, these are the two things that we're going to ensure that everybody is paying attention to, if that makes sense, right? We try to limit our organizational focus so that we're not playing whack-a-mole and have a whole ton of stuff going on, you know?
A lot more fun, but
It may be more fun, but,
we don't.
you know, our teachers work really hard. Like, our teachers have a lot of things that they're already trying to do in the classroom. For us to pile more on doesn't seem right.
Right.
On the other hand, these are two things that we feel like, these are things that are really important, we need to pay attention. So this is also for us to limit our, the number of things that we're doing so that we're not overwhelming our faculty. Cause it's hard enough, you know, so. That may have been more of what you wanted, but is that
That was really helpful. That was exactly what I was
Okay.
asking about.
Yep, and again, when you see this next month, Mark and the admin team, they'll have, you know, 12, 13, 20 pages worth of action steps to get all that done. So these are not aspirational kind of slogans, like we will literally have action steps. And then, by the way, just as a reminder, that 120-page end of year report is our reflections on those action steps. So that's our accountability report to you. All right.
I couldn't sleep.
How could you not read it? Yeah. So thank you. So curriculum proposals are coming, policy updates, you'll see again. And that brings us to the summer school report. We had another exciting summer of summer school here at Stevenson. And I know you had a chance to look at the report, but Mark, do you want to just maybe 2, 3, 4 highlights from your perspective?
Sure, actually, Kosh already gave you the summer school
You did,
report.
you did, yeah.
You crushed it.
Yeah, you did,
Yeah.
it was really great. But we ran 40 courses over the 2 sessions, and the total enrollment over the course of the summer school was 2,995 enrollments. So
Wow.
that's up from last year, which was 2,780. There were 1,748 seats registered during the first session, and then 1,247 registered for the second session. Just an update after COVID, we had instituted a series of transitional courses, and this summer a lot of students didn't enroll. Like, we did not have high enrollment in those, so we feel really kind of good about that because the students are saying to us now through that enrollment process, I don't need to come. I feel prepared to go into Stevenson. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to let those go next year and then invent some new classes for our students to take. As in the past, world history continues to be the most popular. Kosh gave you a little report on that from freshmen. We have about 780 freshmen. Is that right? And then other courses that continue to be popular choices during the summer schedule are Introduction to Business, computer programming classes, and college writing workshop for our seniors who want to, get a leg up on their college application essays, health education, driver education, and SAT prep. And then, as Kosh reported out, we had a number of trips. This kid is on it, by the way.
You did submit an application for your job.
Yeah. Go home. We had a leadership summit in Berlin, and we also had language immersion in Berlin as well. So 2 separate Germany trips, the Alps, a service trip to Peru, and then we had a fashion experience to New York. So we're pretty excited to be getting back abroad, and the students really enjoy those trips. And, really opens up their imaginations, and I think there's been such a great, innovative approach to it now, that it's much more educational based, more focused. Some of our teachers have just really gotten interested in doing that work, and it's pretty exciting. So it's not just traveling, it's not just touring, I should say, it's true travel experiences with destination purposes, which is really
With curricular expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not as if, they're not also studying, while they're there, and Janessa actually has led some of those trips for AP Euro, right?
Yeah.
And so kids were, doing work while they're there. And so it's nice that post-COVID we're able to get back to those, so. Just one comment, Mark, if I can piggyback. One question that we often get is, there's a lot of kids who enroll in summer before their freshman year. Do we want that? Is that a good thing? And I think just as a reminder, our approach to summer school has always been, it shouldn't be focused on remediation, it should be focused on enrichment or acceleration. So our feeling is, let's provide kids with opportunities, and if they jump on them, that's great. And with our freshmen, in particular, 75% of our freshmen are taking a class, they get acclimated to Stevenson, they know the building. And more importantly, for those students, if they take world history, which we know a number of them do, that opens up an opportunity for those kids to then take an elective their freshman year. So for those kids who are making that choice, it makes some sense for them. Maybe not for every kid, but for those kids. So, but world history isn't the only option. We promote, as Mark said, introduction to business, and I think Troy said that one year your kids took an art class, and so there's lots of opportunities. We just encourage kids to come if they're interested. So.
Yeah, I'm just adding one fun fact about why more and more students join a summer school. Believe it or not, because of the cafeteria.
Because of the
Seriously.
cafeteria?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've been told a lot of times because kids love Stevenson's food, so they can't wait to, wait until the fall, they jump in the summertime, try to travel food.
I don't blame
Yeah.
them. So, yeah.
I see a lot of posting about the food.
It is interesting because one of the first site visits I went to, there was a discussion about the summer school program.
Mhm.
And one of the common questions, or one of the things that people were, most of the visitors, how do you get kids to even come to school in the summer? And it's an expectation here where everyone, and it's so unusual to have that. We really take it for granted.
Yeah, it's really great. And like I said, in most schools, it's remediation. Kids, why would they wanna go? For here, kids see the benefit. It's both for acceleration, but also for enrichment, you know, and our teachers have some great courses in summer school, so.
I think for the freshmen also, as the parent of one, I know a lot of the kids appreciate the opportunity to have that sort of soft transition, find their bearings, learn how to get lunch here, learn just how to navigate the facility before it's full and feel like this is their school. So I think that's a really lovely opportunity. Question about the wait lists, Mark. Is there ever any consideration, because students are pretty packed, and I'm seeing that some of these electives did end up waitlisted, does that factor into decision making for future years in terms of sections and hiring?
Always. There are some of the things that end up waitlisted are very specific courses. So we need a digital art and design teacher. And we don't have there's not a ton of those just hanging around. And so sometimes we end up limited by the number of people who will teach that course. So, we'd love to offer them, we just can't always find enough adults to teach the very specific courses. But for classes like world history, we don't usually struggle. We can find a lot of folks, because we have a lot of people that love to work here. And so it's a great foot in the door.
Okay, and then you'll also note all of the personnel items that are included in the human resources report. Just as a side note, one of the things that you'll hear in the news is that across the country there is a massive teacher shortage. And although we are not experiencing that here at Stevenson, knock on wood, that is something that is affecting many of the schools here in Illinois, in the Midwest, certainly around the country. So we're very grateful that, Stevenson continues to be a place that people wanna work. So all of our classes are filled, we don't have any shortages, we're all good.
We hired a Hebrew teacher.
And we hired a Hebrew teacher,
Oh my
and we're very pleased that we've been able to fill all our positions, so.
It's amazing.
And that brings us to the adoption of the 23-24 budget. This is something that we had shared with you in June, but Sean, I'll let you kind of share out before we open the public hearing.
Yep, as Eric mentioned, it's kind of a two-step process. We put the budget on display, a tentative budget on display for at least 30 days. And then we would hold another hearing where in fact we would open basically a hearing, or open the part of the meeting to the public for public comment. Overall, there were not many changes from the tentative budget to the final budget that we discussed earlier today. But you can see that overall our revenues are expected to go up about 3% compared to last year. Our expenditures, we are keeping right around that 2.2% mark. Actually, I think that's supposed to be 2.9 excluding the construction, my apologies. And we have those summer projects that we started this summer and will be carrying on next summer, and that's namely the Performing Arts Center. Construction is going okay with that, so we'll talk about that at another time. But I am happy to recommend that we will be asking for approval on a balanced budget tonight for our operational funds. So with that tonight, there are a bunch of motions here. One to open the hearing, one to close the hearing, and then one for acceptance of the budget as presented.
So can I have a motion to open the public hearing on the budget?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public hearing is open. Do we have any visitors or comments? Nope. So can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, hearing is closed. Now, can I have a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 budget?
So move.
Who was that?
Steve.
Second, I'll second.
Second, good, thank you.
Any more questions for Sean?
Oh, just a comment, I mean, I appreciated the level of detail that you guys went into at the finance committee hearing, or meeting rather.
Thank you.
And it was the same last year, I mean, it's a great education in how the finances run, so I really appreciate it personally.
Thank you, we appreciate it, and, you know, Brittany puts a ton of work into it, and she does an amazing job, and you know, I would like to say that she's helped me grow as much as I've helped her grow as well, and so I think at the end, the benefit is that school gets a nice, solid, concrete budget that is financially or fiscally responsible.
Anything else? Okay, would you please poll the board?
Certainly. Chow.
Aye.
Boones, aye. Tyre.
Aye.
Frost.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Ben Joseph.
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
All right, Sean, we have approval of the Sodexo contract.
Yep, so as you know, we have had a long standing relationship with Sodexo going back to the days when it used to be called Marriott. Sodexo handles our food, our facilities, and facilities includes ground, the outside grounds, the inside, mechanical, maintenance, electrical, setups, takedowns, and we average well over 1,000 setups and takedowns every month. It's pretty absurd. And as part of that contract that we have with them, in the most recent contract was a performance agreement for the food service that we would entertain a profit of at least $40,000. As you know, our food service sales have been through the roof. Thank you for the anecdotal evidence, Grace, but our food service sales have been through the roof with very little increase in price. Sodexo has come back to us with a flat contract, another 5-year deal at the same percentages. Just to remind everybody, kind of the basis of the contract, it is a cost plus contract, which, you know, can add a little bit of worry to the contract itself, but I will tell you that there are limitations on Sodexo's kind of cost, if you will. They can't just go out and hire a new employee without seeking my approval first. So much of the spending that goes on is in fact controlled by Brittany, myself, in our regular meetings with Habib and Travis and others on the Sodexo team as well. So we scrutinize much of their spending, but it is, again, not something that they can engage in without approval from us. In addition, while there is a flat, you know, renewal where there's no increase in the percentages, you might ask yourself, but what is the market bearing, right? So the market, I've gone out and done some comparisons. So for Sodexo, even their own, they are quoting 12% increases or 12% markups on any new clients. So they're not even, you know, cutting it down to get new business. It just goes to show you how much they value our relationship. I did ask some of my peers as well to put together, like, what are you seeing on the food service side? Many of them do have facilities in-house, so it's hard to kind of gauge what those prices are, but if you figure an average raise is 4 to 5% compounded annually for ever and ever and ever, you know, that kind of adds up quickly. But on the food service side, they're usually, they're seeing across the board 6% to 8% increases on their contracts from previous years. So Sodexo's right there with us. They are not taking us for granted. In fact, the president of school operations is set to make a visit to Stevenson this year to review the facilities and try to understand why this relationship seems to work so well on an annual basis. Very exciting. But tonight we are asking the board to approve a new 5-year renewal of the Sodexo contract as presented.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any
Is that done?
Yep, it was.
Yeah, I can't see you from here. Okay, I got it.
He's there.
He's there.
Any questions for Sean?
So one question when I see the contract, I see one of the term asking like, well, not asking, but stating they can hire student employee, which
Yeah.
is from Stevenson student?
Correct, that's
Oh.
correct, good, great eye. We do actually have, I think this year it's 4 Stevenson students that are going through the transition program that are working on campus. And one of the students one of the employees is in fact a graduate from, oh man, it had to be 5 or 6 years ago.
2016, 17.
Yeah, I mean, he was 5 or 6 years ago, and so he says hi to me. I know he says hi to Eric every day I'm in there. So that is something. Part of that is also because, you know, we want to do with them to encourage them to reach out, but they have a natural willingness to be a community partner, so that's in their DNA anyway, but they put it in that. Good catch.
Yeah, this isn't a question, but more of a comment, you know, you talk about why it works so well, and I think just like everything here, it's people.
Yeah.
Right, Beef is great, they're all,
Yeah,
and
I
this
agree,
Sodexo
totally.
crew here is just so great, I think when you pull in on campus and you get to know the guys and everybody waves and it's really nice to see.
There's a lot of pride in ownership of what they
Yes.
do on a day-to-day basis, even though their paycheck comes from somewhere else.
Right, and they feel part of the campus.
I think one of the struggle for them is how to deal with like good food with a long line waiting. Because, you know, students love their food. They don't mind waiting such a long line to get.
That's a good point. I'll have to go back to
Yeah.
remind Habib that when we built it, I said,
Yeah.
listen, only thing I have is you have to get them through the line. Nobody waits longer than 10 minutes because they only have 20 minutes to
Right.
eat. So you gotta figure that out. Other than that, go to town.
Yeah.
Is the new system, didn't we update that?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
helping?
Yeah.
That's moving things faster.
Apple Pay and the
Apple
credit
Pay,
cards is lightning quick.
And the new Jasmine's in the PWC is still.
Still hot.
Their third largest.
We're still popping.
At third largest revenue source. Did we think that was gonna happen? We didn't know.
We didn't know.
I'm thinking maybe one day student can order their food online on their phone and they just pick it up
We have
when they got a break.
already worked
We're working
through
on that.
some of those things.
Okay.
There's some logistical concerns on where to store the food prior to pickup.
Okay,
But it is something that we have
Okay,
considered
great.
and discussed.
alright, cool.
Thought about having Troy deliver it.
Like one of those
What
red
else? What
bags.
else?
Yeah,
I thought it was on therapy
Yeah.
dogs or therapy.
white gloves and a silver tray,
And
Writing the hoverboard.
yes.
and a little napkin over your arm.
Alright, any other questions for Sean about Sodexo?
No, go for it.
Good.
Alright, could you please vote for?
Certainly, Moons, aye. Tyre,
Aye.
Frost,
Aye.
no.
Aye.
Ben Joseph,
Aye.
Chow.
Aye.
Well, we carried 6-0.
Wonderful. Last action item I have for the board tonight is the approval of, or I guess authorization for White and Company, our architects, to create some construction drawings for projects related to the summer of 2024. As I mentioned earlier today, the biggest project is a 2-year project, and that was the Performing Arts Center. That has already been taken care of in terms of bids, signed, sealed, delivered. Work is progressing well in the Performing Arts Center. There were a couple of other items that needed to be potentially addressed in the summer of '24, and that is the replacement of some boilers in the east building and upgrades to the pump house in the west building, and then a portion of the west Bless
God
you.
bless.
A portion of the west building roof replacement. The initial, or excuse me, not the initial, but the design development estimate from Gilbane is about $2.9 million. We are not asking the board for approval tonight for that. We are simply asking for White and Company to develop those construction drawings along with that, and at our next site and facility meeting, we'll discuss the need for those projects and which projects should, if any or all, move forward for the summer work in 2024.
Is the roof replacement part of the overall scheme of replacing the roof?
Can we, I interrupt and we get a
Oh.
motion and then we'll discuss?
Oh, I'm
if you
sorry.
mind? No, that's okay. Can I get a motion for the,
So move.
Second?
okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay,
So
is the roof replacement, we had a plan in place to replace pieces of the roof over a number of years. Is this part of that overall plan?
it is, and one of the things that we're in the process, or what I'm in the process of having Gilbane do is reevaluate that section of roof. We get a 5-year capital plan every year from White that gets updated. We wanna make sure, normally they'll give me a range that the roof, should be replaced from 2024 to 2026, right? And a lot of that timeline is really based on the last time it was evaluated, how has it changed since then? And so that's what they're going through now, and that's what we'll be bringing to the
Okay.
Site Facilities Committee recommendations for that.
Okay.
If we go ahead with drawings and we decide, say, to, push something for a year, then we've still done that, right? Then we know what we're doing.
Correct, we
what
have
need to-
drawings, that's correct, 100%.
Any other questions for Sean? Alright, please poll the board.
Moons, aye. Tyre?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
No?
Aye.
And Joseph?
Aye.
So?
Aye.
Carries 6-0.
And then Sean, you have 3 first readings, just briefly.
Yep, one we've kind of alluded to before, which is we have received proposals from 4 different banks in regards to our banking services. Our next step will be to set up interviews with 2 of them. We'll be asking one of the board members to sit in on that. But we will be, there's a couple of finalists, we just obviously aren't gonna announce those yet until we get a chance to call them and set up a meeting. We did briefly mention, I think in the mid-meeting memo or at some point in time, that we do have some cellular dead spots. The quote to take care of all those dead spots in the entire campus was $441,000, which is too much for what our appetite is. So we're going to piecemeal this and really focus in on non-classroom areas, specifically the commons areas or areas where there might be an activity after school or at night and somebody might need to make a 911 call so that there's no worries about making a 911 call. So it really kind of comes down to safety and security a little bit, even though we have security around on our campus. So we'll be talking more about that, both mid-meeting memo and at our next board meeting.
And you and Brittany were able to include in the budget.
Correct, we included a portion, not the 441,
Correct.
but we did include a much smaller portion.
Okay, what's the plan for the portions? How much are we gonna do now? Is the goal ultimately to do the whole thing?
Part of what Sean's working on right now is working with the vendor to determine exactly that.
Yeah, so how do we bring in
stage
How do we break it up and
Correct,
how long is
without-
it gonna take?
Correct.
Because if it's a safety issue, I think we need to
It-
take that
The
into
good
account.
news is that installation is relatively quick. It's more wire pulling. We're not waiting for a bunch of technology components to come in. These are components that are now readily available, not delays like the experiences that we've had previously with access points and switches and the other stuff. So this is a in-hand product that should be able to be installed fairly quickly.
Once you hear back from them, can you just, when you come back to us, can you give us a sense of what areas wouldn't be covered?
Of course.
Either
Of course. I'll
going through
give-
the facility or a visual or something,
Yeah, a
We'll
map.
have a map.
We'll have a map that shows what is and isn't.
And they'll stage out for us.
Yep.
What each year What areas will roll on.
Helpful, thank you.
And then lastly, we do have a couple of multifunction devices, also simply known as copiers, that are coming off of our existing lease, and we're looking to re-up those. In fact, we are gonna also be able to consolidate some of those units as well to more cost effective. So you'll be seeing more of that in the mid-meeting memo, and again in September. And those are, do you wanna talk about the other agreement, Eric?
Yeah, I just noted, yes, so coming in September will be a renewal of our intergovernmental agreement with the foundation. And I just noticed, Pia, this is not the red line version of the agreement, so if we could
Oh, I'm sorry.
add that, that would be awesome. The foundation has gone through a lot of changes over the course of the past couple of years, so we just wanted to update the intergovernmental agreement to reflect those changes. Although this is not the red line version, I will tell you that there's nothing significant that's going to be changed, more related to some terminology and things like that. So just wanted to make you aware of that, and that will come in September as well. You'll see the usual list of FOIA requests, and that,
No, I just thought that the wrestling one, what is that?
we don't.
We get them all the time.
We don't know, we get random FOIA requests and we have to respond.
No, I know we have to respond.
Yeah,
And hopefully in September, I'll be able to put the final touches on how much it actually cost us in manpower and explicit costs
For the
for
FOIAs.
FOIAs for last year.
cause they do take
That'd be
it,
interesting.
they do take time. And that brings us to the consent.
Can I just ask on the reading? So that was a forward of an email that's 4 years old.
Yeah,
What are you
Which one?
asking?
So the FOIA issue on the reading, it was, unless I'm reading it wrong, it was it was where Doug forwarded a 4-year-old, 3.5-year-old email. So I wasn't
The
sure.
request, I think the request was for all communications relative to book issues.
Oh, is that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so he looked to see what was out there, he forwarded that to you, and this is what you gave. Gotcha.
Correct.
And there was a date.
It was a summary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
That was Ronnie and Grace. Terry, could you please pull the board?
sure, Tyre?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
No,
Aye.
and Joseph? Aye. Sal?
Aye.
Moon's aye. Carried.
Okay, and then finally tonight, just a couple items. The first is kudos to Debbie Marquardt, who is our one of our human resource coordinators. She is going to be honored with an HR Specialist Award from the American Association of School Personnel Administrators. So that is a really prestigious award. It's a great recognition. And that means now that 50% of our HR staff is nationally recognized. So that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is amazing.
It is amazing. So kudos to
And
Debbie.
she deserves every bit.
Oh,
She's
totally.
amazing.
She's a rock star.
Please tell her that we appreciate that and congratulations.
We will, thank you.
Most definitely.
I've also included as I usually do at this meeting of September, an enrollment report and a class size report. Our enrollment report, I didn't get a chance to link, so we will do that next month, but as of today, we're right around 4,628-ish students, so quite a few students, though
Expected.
still 50, yeah, we'll get about 5 or 10 more. But still about 50 kids less than our all-time high, which was around 4,675-ish.
Getting close though.
Getting close, and if you believe the enrollment projections, we could have 4,900 kids by the end of the decade, so we'll see. I've included a class size report there for you, just for you to be able to review. And we'll give you more information around class size, because that's obviously something that's important to us. This is a historical count of class size at sectioning, because and I wanted to share this with you coming off of the heels of the budget conversation, because the budget is built off of our sectioning intents. you can see kind of the historical counts at sectioning time, but what I did include this year was a column that had our sectioning on the first day of school. So you can see that there's not a lot of movement. Sometimes class sizes go down 0.2, sometimes they go up 0.2, but not a lot of movement between sectioning and the start of school. So overall, our class sizes on average, if you were to average up our core content areas, are about 23 students per class, which is really good, you know, as a national average. And as it stands now, all but 2 of our divisions have had larger class sizes historically. So we feel, you know, we would all love to have class sizes of 20 kids, but, you know, I think ultimately, you know, 23 is a pretty good number. So, and keep in mind that I just wanna make sure that we're representing accurately what happens kind of day to day within a division. I taught social studies, I taught some core classes like world history. There were times where I had 28 kids in a class or 29 kids in a class. But then I also taught world religions and there may have been only 17 kids in a class. So that 23 is the average within each division. So, you know, keep that in mind, you know, that you get to that because it's that measure of central tendency. So just wanna make sure we all remember that.
So we have science that says 23.6, which is 24.
Oh, right.
But we only have 24 science stations in a classroom, right?
No,
We
we
have more?
they're up to 28 now.
28.
28, exactly,
Because
okay.
remember, we increased the square footage
Well,
to
that's
national
true,
standards
okay.
now.
But that didn't get any bigger.
No, it did not. So,
Sean, are the enrollment, is it in line or were our projections pretty
Yes.
close to in line with what?
Correct,
enrollment-
yeah, this was the year that we were gonna see a little bit more of a jump than in previous years. So it's coming to fruition. We're just needed to submit the data today for our upcoming projections.
But if you look at projections
But if
from
I
say
look
4
back,
years ago,
correct, yeah.
we're pretty much on target.
Yeah, I usually wait till we get the 6th or 5th or 6th day, and then the state has changed it to October 1st now, I believe, is that right? Instead of the 6th-day enrollment. So normally at that point, I'll do a comparison like, hey, here's where they were predicting, and then you can see how close or on target they are. But yeah, I expect that usually in the October board meeting now.
Is this a bigger freshman class? I know that like from like 103, it was a huge, you know, the class of 2027, that 8th grade class that's now our 9th grade class was very big. Is that across the board with the senders? Did they send us more kids across the board?
I haven't looked at the individual breakdown by the 8th, like by the center schools, excuse me. But overall, yes, our classes now are getting bigger every year.
When will we get updated decision insight numbers?
Those usually come, that's what they just asked for today, so I gotta get the data file over to them, make sure our feeder schools send them the data file as well.
Is that-
And then we get usually something in the fall.
I'm hearing just strictly anecdotally
Yeah.
from my people out there that some of the feeders are bursting at the seams with the young kids, like it's big.
It is a true statement.
That is not anecdotal, it is. So we're gonna do a couple things. Not only are we gonna rely on Decision Insight, which is getting their numbers from our feeders. I mean, that's where but one of the things that Sean and I have talked about too is just kind of double checking their work by literally
Butts and seats.
calling and getting butts and seats counts, because Decision Insight also, remember, gives us projections based on new development and
And
turnover
trend.
and trend, and that's good and it's helpful, but I also wanna know like how many kids are in desks in our schools, and just to give us a sense of, you know, the effect that we're hearing is that it was 2 years ago that the first grade class, I think at 96 was just exploding, you know, so
This year's sixth grade cohort is really big, like
Yeah.
there's just a couple of years where.
Well, we knew about those kids.
Right.
But it's actually the kids like in second and
The
third
younger
grade now
ones.
that are blowing up
So where
our
we
projections.
typically see like the kindergarten, like we get pre-K, K1, right, so you can see that. But where we tend to see bumps in our cohorts are in that fifth, sixth grade year and then the ninth grade. So you can see the intentionality of when people come to our district and they either come right from the get-go, they make a break for like the junior high-ish, right? And then, or they just wait till high school. That's kind of the evolution over time.
And houses are selling fast. I mean, just again, anecdotally, my neighborhood and the surrounding area, they go on the market, they sell immediately, there's bidding wars, and then new families with young kids move in.
Yep.
So we're seeing it for sure.
So that makes us. We will,
Yeah, we're fine. It's all fine.
it'll all be fine.
It's all fine.
It'll all be fine. It's gonna be okay. Dates for next year's leadership retreat are included in there for you. We have some board dialogue dates as well. Our first board dialogue will be next month, and Wendy will be working with us on our new career pathway requirements from the state of Illinois. And then in December and April, I think, Pia, Ted is gonna be facilitating some board dialogues with our students. So great opportunities to get back into that rotation. Pia's included some information about the joint annual conference and some registration information, so please take a look at that. And then Pia will follow up with everybody over the course of the next couple weeks. And then we gave you a copy if you are interested. If you do not want this, just give it back to Pia at the end of the meeting. But every once in a while, some of you have asked for copies of our student guidebook. So you may remember in May you did a first reading, and in June you did a second reading of the student guidebook.
This is a staff member.
Oh,
It's the same.
But it should be the same.
guidebook.
It's the guidebook's in the front.
it's in the,
It's the same thing.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
just a little bit different.
A little bit bigger and easier to read
Yep.
than the smaller one.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, did I say student? But the guidebook is in the front, so these are all the rules that the student rules, so to speak, that you approved in May and June. So you have a copy of that. And then we have included, one of the questions, as great as our website has been over the course of the past few years, and thank you to Jamie and her team for doing a lot of hard work. We have gotten questions in the past about, well, who are the members of the administrative team and how do I get in touch with Sean Carney? I wanna complain about the food.
Take your pick.
Or whatever.
Compliments are welcome too.
Yeah, compliments are welcome too. So for those who are interested in making a quick phone call or email to Sean to complain, you can see now that that information will be on our website. So thank you, Jamie, for pulling all of that together. And then finally, we have included, Mark and I had the opportunity to sit down with Mara Grajanic, who is our parent engagement coordinator. And Mara put together her initial plan for the year in developing parent engagement opportunities and defining her work. And you'll see that there's gonna be a series of parent engagement monthly breakfasts, usually here in the district office. There's gonna also be a series of virtual meeting opportunities for parents who can't come in the mornings. And then there's also our multilingual parent action committee meetings that she's a part of helping to structure and organize. And then there are community partner presentations that are more consortium-wide that Mara plays a part in collaborating and organizing as well. So wanted to share with you all of the different things that we're working on and that Mark is supporting Mara in developing and implementing this school year. So really excited about the different opportunities that Mara's gonna be leading out. And that is all we have, right, Pia?
Do you want to update the February meeting?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we'll think about that. We might have to make a change to the February meeting. we're still working.
Another one?
We might have to move it a week later, yeah.
Mm.
So, we will let you know though in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Alright,
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?